In this demonstration, I'm going to make kefir water, which you might have also heard of as kefir water. And kefir is a Turkish word that means long life. And one of the fun things about fermentation is that a lot of fermented foods have been discovered by accident. You know, we don't really know how things get discovered in terms of fermented foods because they're so old. But there's a legend about kefir in the Caucasus mountains around Turkey, that horsemen would ride across the plains and they would carry sheep milk in a pouch that was made of the sheep's stomach. And as the horses were galloping across the plains, the milk was shaking inside the stomach pouch, and it was mixing with the enzymes from the lining of the sheep's stomach. And so by the time these horsemen got to their destination and they drank their milk, it was sour and fizzy, and it tasted really good. And so that began the process of milk kefir, dairy kefir. Now, a lot of people have difficulty digesting lactose. A lot of people have difficulty digesting casein. Water kefir is a great alternative to milk kefir. And water kefir can be flavored in 1,000,001 different ways, and I'm going to make a special recipe for you that I really like. But before we do that, I'm just going to show you what we call the first ferment. Now, kefir water is made in 2 different stages. The first is what we call the first ferment, and I put this up a couple of days ago. And what this is a mixture of sugar. I have some turbinado raw sugar that I got, and a little bit of room temperature water. And we mix that up and we let it dissolve, and then we put in the magic ingredient, which are the kefir grains. So these are the water kefir grains, and as you can see, they're these kind of gelatinous looking, kind of look a little bit like crushed ice. They look a little bit like tapioca. This is the probiotic base for your kefir water. So you can see here on the bottom of this jar, that kind of cloudy substance on the bottom. That's the kefir grains. So this is water, sugar, kefir grains. And then once we have all this together, we cover it with a little cheesecloth, like so. And the way that I secure the cheesecloth is I have a bunch of lids to ball jars. I just put one of these rings around the cheesecloth, and then you just let this sit out in your house. I told you it was easy. Let it sit out for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. It depends on how strong you like your kefir water. And if your kitchen is cold, you want to have it sit for a little while longer. So I'm going to go ahead and taste this, and I hope I don't spill it, but I'm going to taste this and just see. What I'm looking for here when I taste this first ferment is that a little bit of the sweetness of the sugar has given way to a slightly yeasty and little bit of a tangy flavor. So I've had this going for about 3 days. Yeah, okay, that's good. Because what I can taste, it's still sweet, but what I can taste underneath it is that the kefir grains have basically started to kick in. It's actually pretty yummy. Okay, bottoms up. So this is ready to go for the secondary ferment. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to flavor my kefir water. So I'm going to pour this, and say your prayers. I hope I don't spill it. I'm going to pour, this might be a little awkward. How about if I use a measuring cup? Let's do that. I'm going to pour this into my measuring cup, and I'm using a strainer so that I can catch the kefir grains because they can be reused. So I will pour this into my new jar. Is that right? Yeah, that works. Okay. So I'm basically just decanting this kefir water. Very, very simple. And it looks like I can measure it actually as I go. I think I've got about 6 cups here. And there's all sorts of wonderful ways that you can flavor kefir water. You can use fresh fruit, you can use herbs, you can use citrus, you can use, there's some people I know who use wonderful medicinal herbs like turmeric. I know somebody who does a kefir made with medicinal mushrooms actually that they use that has a kind of almost like a chocolatey flavor. It's really pretty amazing. Okay, so we're just decanting this off. like so. I spilled a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. So it looks like I've got about 5 cups or so there. So I've strained off these kefir grains, and I can just put these right back into my jar and I can reuse them. And I can just start a whole new batch of kefir water, which I'll do in just a second. So I'm going to put this all back here for now. And I'm going to do the second part of the fermentation, which is called the secondary ferment, the second ferment. And this is one that I really like, that I made up. And it's a pear, Meyer lemon, and rosemary kefir water. Doesn't that sound exotic? I've got a great rosemary bush right outside my house. And it's so prolific and flavorful, that aromatic, that I just thought I have to use it for something. So I'm putting about a cup of pear juice in here, and that's going to bring it right up to the neck of the jar. Okay, so that's the pear part. And then, because I'm in Sonoma, California in the middle of the winter, Meyer lemons abound here, and every neighbor I have just about has more Meyer lemons than they know what to do with. So Meyer lemons, here actually let me give a little peel here. Meyer lemons are particularly deliciously, wonderfully aromatic. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking my vegetable peeler, oh that's divine, and I'm just peeling off swatches of the Meyer lemon zest, and I'm going to add those into my secondary ferment here. And there's a lot of wonderful healing oils in the peel of the lemon, not to mention very, very strong concentrated lemon flavor. Which, the thing I like about this recipe is that the lemon really, the tang of the lemon really balances the sweetness of the pear and the sweetness of the sugar base. So there we go. I've got kind of a zebra Meyer lemon here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze the juice of this in. And I'm using this big awkward strainer. It's a little, okay, I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to go ahead and put those seeds in. I'm going to strain this all in a couple days anyway, so it's okay if the seeds get in. So there we go. I'm adding just the juice of the Meyer lemon, squeezing that in. And this is going to be really yummy in a couple of days. I'm sorry you guys all can't be here with me tasting it, but if you make it at home, gee, I wish you could text me a glass of Meyer lemon pear kefir water, or put it on Facebook or something, but I guess we can't do that, at least not yet. Okay, so there's my lemon, and there's my pear, and then the last thing that I'm going to do, this is super simple. I'm putting in a sprig of fresh rosemary from the bush outside my house. Just putting it in like so. You can drink this right now. If you really want this kefir water, you could have it right now. And in fact, I think I'm going to give it just a little taste and just see how it is. Just a little drop. Oh yeah, see, that's really amazing. That's really lovely. The pear is really nice. The lemon is tangy. In fact, I might even put a little more lemon in it. Or I can let it sit and continue fermenting in the secondary ferment for a couple days, and then adjust the flavors when I'm ready to harvest it. So in the secondary fermentation process, we want to make this airtight. So I can put on just a basic lid if I want. And the idea here is that with the sugars from the remaining sugars in the sugar mixture, the sugars from the pear juice, the fermentation that's already taken place in the sugar water will continue to eat those sugars, and it will build up carbonation with the airtightness. It will become a little bit fizzy. It'll become very, very, very mildly alcoholic. It's not enough to make anybody drunk or cause problems. And if you really want to up that carbonation factor, you can put this little thing on, which is called an airlock. And what this is basically a cork that I'm going to put in the spout of this jar. And what this will do is it just further traps the air and helps to recycle it back down so that it builds up the carbonation a little more effectively and a little faster. There's a little gadget in here, that little dome-shaped thing that will tilt this way and that according to how the carbonation is forming. The bubbles will come up from the bottom and then they'll kind of get trapped in here and they'll go back down. And this is a great way to build up carbonation so that you have a nice fizzy water kefir. So I've got my water kefir, and then all I need to do now is just put it somewhere in my kitchen, ideally at 72 degrees, ambient temperature kitchen. It should keep for 2 days, 3 days, whatever. If you let it go a little longer, the fermentation will build up a little bit more. If you have a cold kitchen, then you also want to let it sit for a little longer just to get it to that baseline of where you want it. And as far as like when it's ready when you say it's ready. I mean, it's ready now, it could be ready tomorrow. Keep tasting it and see how it is for you. Like you might want it a little more tangy, you might want it sweet. It's totally up to you. But in the meantime, it has all the probiotic benefits that you need just as it is.